Korean War has just come to an end. Reporting from SBS News in Seoul, Korea. Good evening, my name is Lee Min. Tonight, July 27th, 1953, the Korean War that started a full 3 years ago on June 25th, 1950, when the North Koreans invaded our land, has come to an end with a military stalemate. The armistice agreement has been signed by North Korea, China, the US, and the UN. However, no South Korean representatives signed the agreement, leaving some shocked. And now we have questions for a South Korean soldier. Good evening, how are you, sir? Hello, I am still shocked with what happened. Aren't we all? Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement in the war? First off, I am Lieutenant Park Hyun-dae. I am 29 years old, and I fought in the Second Battle of Seoul to retake Seoul from the Northerners. And what was your initial reaction to the war? I am very disappointed that we did not reach our goal of Korean unification under our rule. The North crossed the parallel first and tried to execute our president, Sungman Rhee. It was very disrespectful. The armistice does not allow us to unify the country, and I oppose it. The North also claims that they want to unify the country. What are your thoughts? Their slogan was to drive the enemy into the sea, and that's what they almost did in the early stages of war. Does that sound like unification? They obviously wanted to kick us out and have the whole countries for themselves. President Sungman Rhee seems to oppose the armistice as well. Early in the war, he opposed all peace talks and wanted to continue the army to expand and take over the country and unify it. It looked like he had support from the National Assembly of South Korea. However, recently, the assembly started to move for the armistice. President is still against it. Do you agree with him? Yes, I support our president's action. We need to unify the country, and we can't do that with the armistice. I hope that this armistice is temporary. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you. Once again, the Korean War has ended, preventing South Korea to unify the whole country. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you next time on KBS News. Thank you and good night.
Tonight on KCNA Evening News, we have an update on the Motherland Liberation War. The Motherland Liberation War has unfortunately ended, and we did not achieve victory of complete unification of Korea. The glorious Korean People's Army had reached a stalemate with the South Koreans. Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung is not satisfied with this result. The Americans and South Koreans were able to fend off our attacks. China encouraged us to have an armistice until we had signed a peace treaty to stop the fighting before signing an official peace treaty. We had no intention to sign a peace treaty. Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung still had plans to unify Korea, but the war is currently under a military stalemate. The Motherland Liberation War started on June 25th, 1950, after we invaded South Korea with the support from the Soviet Union and China. Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung had great relationships with the leaders of Soviet Union and China, Mr. Joseph Stalin and Chairman Mao. Our army was expertly trained by the Chinese that had just won a civil war, and we had weapons provided by the Soviet Union. This included tanks and heavy artillery. This allowed us to take advantage against the South Koreans on the 38th parallel. The South Koreans attacked us first, so we had no choice but to invade South Korea to execute the traitor Syngman Rhee. The South attempted to stop our progress into their country by blowing up Hangang Bridge on June 26 at 2 a.m. This desperate measure proved to be ineffective because Seoul was under our control a few hours later. The traitor and coward Syngman Rhee had fled Seoul. At the height of the war, we had taken control of most of the South except for Busan, and we were pushed back by the American-led UN force that was organized to halt our progress. There were many reinforcements from the South that pushed us from Busan all the way close to the border between North Korea and China, until our ally China sent their reinforcements to push the evil Americans back to the 38th parallel. China had encouraged our supreme leader to engage in peace talks, but this was not an outcome we had wished for. Although we suffered heavy casualties, Korea was going to be unified under Kim Il-sung's rule. We had suffered 406,000 deaths and 1.5 million wounded. We sent General Nam Il to the peace talks after requests from China. There were 4 separate representatives, one for the UN, one for China, one for South Korea, and one for North Korea. The armistice to stop fighting was signed on July 27, 1953. This was only temporary, and it was not a peaceful official peace treaty. This concludes tonight's evening news on KCNA News. We wish to see you again tomorrow. Good night.